If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. Yeah. A fresh, cool young Lou, trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees. What if you brung you? Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list? Who brung you? You, the more famous. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do, keep it spicy. Riptide Media Network, and if you are listening, you are probably listening on the 102.9 The Game app. Appreciate you downloading the app, and if you have not already downloaded the app, go ahead and do that right now, because why not, right? Make sure that you get what you need to have, what you need when you need it from your boy and everybody at Riptide Media Networks. Shout out to the Bleacher Brothers and Football Game Plan for allowing me to broadcast on their networks, whether it be their Facebook pages or on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube channel or on any other social media platform that's out there. Make sure that you follow me at Gene Clemens on Twitter, on Instagram. Although I will admit I have not been as active on Instagram, and I apologize to people who are like, I hope you're okay. Yes, the answer is yes, I'm okay. The truth is that sometimes I just like the platforms that fit me the most are the platforms that I tend to gravitate towards. And the truth is that Instagram for me isn't as friendly as the rest of these apps. The reason why you don't always see the podcast or the radio show up on Instagram is because Instagram, you got to go through a whole nother step in order for it to work. I'm talking inside information right now, but I think one of the things that I like about what I do and what you like about what I do is I kind of just tell you what's on my mind right now, right? And so Instagram really has to step their game up. There's no reason why Instagram's connectivity to broadcasting would be worse than Facebook's when Facebook owns Instagram. They use the same integration, right? Like if I post something on Instagram, it automatically posts on my Facebook. So why would it not work the other way? Like, why can't I get my broadcast to just immediately start without putting in a stream key or some other ridiculousness that makes it more difficult for me to get my stuff to you? And then, just certain things that I've been doing that I would normally post around when I'm working out on my love for Cycle Bar, I haven't been able to do because this is a really busy time of year. If anybody in the education world, you know that May is super busy. End of April, May, super busy. You've got testing. You've got seniors graduating. You've got kids who are trying to purposely fail. Don't know why they're trying to purposely fail, but that's what it feels like when you see them out there in this world. You have spring sports starting. You have spring sports finishing up. You have spring football starting. So there's lots of stuff going on. And there's lots of stuff going on in the world of sports. The NBA is heavy into its basketball playoffs. Every team is now officially into the second round, right? So you have that. You have baseball now in full swing. Shout out to the Yankees that are killing it. If you notice on Twitter, every few days, I give you a nice little Yankees haiku. I'll continue to do that throughout the season, even if for some reason we start doing really, really bad, which I doubt it. But that's going on.
The UFL is going on, and shout out to the Birmingham Stallions, who continue to be the class of the UFL. Shout out to the not Memphis, but to the St. Louis Battle Hawks for being one of the most raucous and excited crowds. The UFL really needs these other cities to get on board with coming out to the games. The tickets are not like expensive, so I don't understand the reasoning. These UFL cities are cities that are places where it should be fun to get out and go watch a game. I'm sure that the stadiums have deals in place that make it palatable for you to come and bring your family, have a little bit of bite to eat, have some things going on. But these UFL cities really need to support these teams. You have to, the people, the fans, they have to start being forward thinking instead of right now thinking. They have to start thinking about what happens if they're not in on the ground floor of this building. Don't think about what happens if it fails, because that's a pessimistic way of thinking. You got to think about what happens if it succeeds, right? If it succeeds, it becomes a legitimate secondary league, right? One where players want to go because they want the opportunity to show that they can play in the NFL. And the only real place you're going to be able to show that you can play in the NFL is college and the UFL, because those are the direct transferable skills. Even in the CFL, you're kind of playing a different game, right? But in the UFL, you're playing the same game. And you're playing against some players who've already been to the league. Most of the players in the UFL, they come from situations where they've at least touched the NFL. Whether it's a training camp, a rookie mini camp, being on a roster, even getting some starting reps. They're coming from situations where they have touched the NFL. So now it's on the fans. The proof of concept is there. The football is good. It's not otherworldly, but guess what's going to make it better? Time, right? Time is going to make it better. I'm telling you what's going to happen if you invest in the UFL. And this is not an ad. The UFL doesn't pay me, although they really should. If this thing continues, what's going to happen is that players are going to figure out, I'm not accruing any time on my ledger from just sitting on an NFL roster as a practice squad member. So after the season is over with, as a practice squad member, I'm going to want to be released so that I can then go and play in the UFL. I'm going to show out in the UFL, and hopefully another team wants to then come and possibly allow me to compete to be on their 52 or whatever the number is now. Be on their actual roster, not just the practice squad. And rinse, wash, repeat. Right now, what you're seeing is some players are just comfortable being signed, knowing that they're most likely going to be a practice squad member and doing nothing in this off time, including not actually getting any more film on them so that NFL teams can see what they can do. That's going to be a flawed logic. The better this league gets, the more money this league is going to pay. So there'll be some players that says, hey, yes, I want to be in the NFL, but I can make a really good living over here in the UFL. That's what you hope, right? So the UFL has to be smart and continue to innovate and do things that attract the talented people who just haven't made it yet, right? Or who are just on the cusp of making it. The young ones, fresh out of college, who have a name from the college that we recognize. Like, think about all of these players who went undrafted, all of these undrafted free agents, all of these 6th and 7th round draft picks that we don't know if they're going to actually make the team. Right? The Jets took 2 running backs in the draft. Both of them are the same type of running back. They're both bigger. They're both bigger backs that play like smaller backs, that have physicality to them. Are they going to keep both of them, or is one of them going to be stashed away on the practice squad like rotting just in case the other one gets hurt? Meanwhile, insert one of those backs into a UFL team right now. Insert a Braylon Allen or an Isaiah Davis into a UFL team right now, and they are instantly better. Instantly better. And I think that's what we'll start see happening. We'll start seeing, instead of going and signing, or maybe you do sign as an unrestricted free agent, but you have it in your contract that you can play in the UFL. So you just go and play in the UFL, and once the UFL season is over, then you go to training camp. Because though they're not overlapping, you're able to do both. But you get more film on yourself. I think that's what we're going to see in the future. But it only happens if fans can start putting their butts in the seats. The nearest UFL team to me is Birmingham. That's a nice little drive for your boy. That ain't no 3-hour, 4-hour drive. That's a haul. I got to make a full day out of it. And actually a full 2 days. I've got to drive over, watch the game. I got to probably stay the night and then drive back. I've got to make a full weekend out of it. But if you're in Birmingham, right there, what are you doing? You've got lots of talent. Your team's the best in the league. It's been one of the best teams since the start of spring football. You got to go out there and support. If not, then you can't complain when these leagues fail. And if the league fails, then there goes the opportunity for you to put more jobs to have more commerce, right? What are the lasting effects? Think about when NFL and NBA teams leave a city, how decimated that city is by the loss of that professional team. Why do you think these cities allow these owners of these teams to essentially hold them up at gunpoint? They do it because they know that if they no longer have that team, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be an issue. And they cannot afford those issues. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. That's the part nobody mentions. But if you're on the ground floor of it, if you become something, then when they try to treat you bad, you just go, hey, remember that time when y'all didn't have people in these seats? We'll go right back to not supporting. You can have the power. You can have the power. But you have to seize the power while there's power to be seized. You can't bump your chest about having the best team in the league, and then when we look in the stands, see nobody. That's not how it works. You can bump your chest about having the best team in the league, bring your butt to the game. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to see results. Right? You're going to see results. There's a lot going on in sports right now. The WNBA has opened up their preseason. And it's extremely interesting as they've opened up their preseason because they're doing exactly what many people thought they were going to do. They're shoving Caitlin Clark right down our throats. So Caitlin Clark, her game is televised. But the Chicago Sky's first game's not televised. Remember that Caitlin Clark is only this massive star because of the light that was shown on her based off of her beating South Carolina, right, last year, and then her and her antics, and then her losing to LSU, and then people putting her in her place. Who are those people? Two of those people? Camila Cardoza, right? Everybody remembers. Nobody remembers. Okay, let me rewind it for you. When all of these young ladies were coming out of high school, they were all in one class together. By the way, that was a fantastic class. But in that class, you had Caitlin Clark, who was, I believe, the lowest rated class. I mean, the lowest rated of the class. And I'm looking to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. I want to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. Okay, so Caitlin Clark was the number 4 rated player in the country, according to ESPN, right? According to ESPN, the W rankings in class of 2022, Caitlin Clark was the 4th rated player. You want to know who was the number 1 rated player? Paige Beckers at UConn. The one that I told you that if not for massive injuries, she would be Caitlin Clark right now. I digress. You want to know who number 2 was? Yep. Angel Reese. You know, the one who went to LSU and then won the championship and then, got back there again in the rematch and Caitlin Clark got the best of LSU that day, but Angel Reese had like 20 rebounds or something crazy like that. Cameron Brink was 3rd, right? And shout out to Cameron Brink, looking fantastic out there with the LA Sparks, doing all the good dressing. I told you she's gonna be a walking hanger. Everybody's gonna want to put their stuff on her for sure. Caitlin Clark was 4th. You know who was 5th? Camila Cardoza. What's my point? That means that the Chicago Sky got 2 of the top 5 out of the class of 2022 of 2020 when they all came out of high school. That means that they got 2 of the top 5. Those 2 happen to be 2 of the best players in women's college basketball. One of them, Angel Reese, is one of the most popular women in basketball. Like, I could make the argument that the 2 most popular women in women's basketball is Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and you wouldn't be able to argue me. So now you have the 2nd most recognizable person in women's basketball, arguably, and you have the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft, who is this like massive, giant, 6'6" behemoth that is just like dominant inside. They have their own version of the Twin Towers. They have their own Duncan and David Robinson. And yet you don't put their thing on television. You don't put them anywhere to be seen. And here's where the internet starts interneting, right? This is where everything gets really, really fun. somebody decided to stream the game. Somebody took it upon themselves, right? They took it upon themselves to say, don't you worry about the game that nobody can see. I'm going to stream it on their cell phone. That stream has received 3 million views. Now, I'm a person that says people like to jump on the wave. Like, we can't always say that this is something because, people are really interested in, right? I acknowledge that people will jump on the wave. But let's just say, right, because I've heard words that said there were up to 165, 170,000 people on the live stream. That means that 165 to 170,000 people had interest in watching this game or at least parts of this game at some point in time. This didn't come from some YouTuber that has millions upon millions of subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. This came from a regular, ordinary person who might, dabble in it, but doesn't have the humongous following. I hope she has a humongous following now. But this is what happens. The demand is there. How the WNBA screwed this up, I'm not sure. Why they said to themselves after they saw that Angel Reese's rookie jersey sold out the same way that Caitlin Clark's rookie jersey sold out, I don't understand why they didn't make this change and make sure that these Chicago Sky games preseason games were being televised. If only to quell the thought process that, oh, y'all are only boosting up the white girl. Y'all ain't even think about the black girl. If that was the only reason to show Chicago Sky games, they should have done it. The fact that there's a room somewhere with people who are thinking up things to do, right? And nobody in that room said, hey, we can't have Caitlin Clark's game be televised or broadcasted and not have anywhere for the Chicago Sky game to be broadcast. I have seen them do broadcast on Twitter. I've watched games on Twitter. I'm pretty sure that if you told Twitter, hey, you know what I'm saying? Take care of us. We're going to put this game on Twitter. They would have said, cool. I'm sure if you would have talked to Facebook and said, hey, Facebook, we're going to put this game on Facebook. We're going to put this game on YouTube, something where this is available. People will find it if they want it. We got to stop thinking about things in the terms of how the NBA does it, because the WNBA is not the NBA. And ladies and gentlemen, I know y'all keep saying, oh, well, if you put the same money behind the WNBA that you put behind the NBA, it'll stop it. Stop it. It's disingenuous. I'm supposed to put the same money behind something that is not generating the level of money as something else that's generating all the money? That doesn't make any sense. But what the league can do is make their product readily accessible to the masses. Hey, why do you think they do free giveaways? Why do you think they have free giveaways? When you go into the store and they're like, hey, try this for free. They want you to get hooked on the product. Why do they give you severe discounts, like drastic discounts? Hey, get this for next to nothing. They want you to get hooked on the product. There's an understanding that this product that we have to sell you is valuable. And because it's valuable, we know that if you taste it, like if you try it, you're going to be hooked. The WNBA does not operate like that. Get people hooked. Man, I would have had I would have had these games with these ladies, see the new faces of the WNBA, see the next wave of the WNBA. I would have had it anywhere. Hell, if you're watching this radio show, if you're watching it, if you're listening to it, I could easily just have it on 102.9 The Game, just on the app. I could easily just have it on my YouTube page. But I know that everybody doesn't consume media the same way. So what do? It's on my YouTube page. It's on 102.9 The Game, the app. It's on the Bleacher Brothers YouTube page. It is on all of my social media. It is on the Bleacher Brothers Twitter. It's on the Bleacher Brothers Facebook. It's on the Football Game Plan Facebook. Why? Not because I just think it's fun to put all of these platforms. No, I want to get the product to you because I believe that if you like somebody that gives genuine, authentic commentary, someone that shoots it straight, someone that's not giving you groupthink, someone that's not telling you just the exact same stuff you hear from everyone else, you're going to like me. And if you like me, guess what you'll do? You'll start listening regularly. If I just say, hey, come over to my YouTube page, and then only one or two people come over to the YouTube page, then I never meet you where you are. And the WNBA has seemed to be unwilling to meet the people where they are. At least not to the level that they should. This was dropped in the WNBA's lap. They didn't have to do anything to get it. They inherited a built-in rivalry between between one charismatic Black athlete and one kind of quiet but seems to have a side that's a little more boisterous on the field. On the court. What does this sound like to you? It sounds like Magic Bird. They have been gifted their Magic Bird, except the roles are reversed. The point guard, or the one who can be a point guard, facilitate, big for the position, right? 6-foot guard in women's basketball, handling the ball, dishing it off, doesn't have the overwhelming athleticism. And then the small forward that's charismatic. So the charisma is on the black side and the white side the same way it was. The skill sets are kind of different, right? Kind of different. But you have that natural rivalry. You have that Magic Bird. Why are you not leaning into the Magic side of it? Don't just lean into the Bird. Bird alone would never be what Bird became. Bird needed a Magic. Bird needed a Magic. And Magic would have never became what he was supposed to be because Magic needed a Bird. WNBA, I'm looking directly into a camera. You have your Bird in Magic. Do not screw this up. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, I'll be talking a little bit more about the NBA and what I've seen over the first couple of first rounds, how I've looked at it, and we'll get into a little bit of individual fantasy, and I'll give you a couple winners as we go into tonight's basketball matchups. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. Riptide Media Networks and the 102.9 The Game app. I am Coach Gene Clemens. The NBA has been, wow, what's the word I can look for? The NBA playoffs. It has been interesting. It has been eye-opening, right? Interesting and eye-opening. Number one, I go back to the Lakers Nuggets series, right? And the way in which the Lakers were playing. For those who don't know, Darvin Ham, the head coach of the Lakers for the last 2 seasons, has been fired as head coach of the Lakers. Now, I'm not here to talk to you about whether or not I agree with hiring or firing. I think that it's a little hasty to fire a coach after 2 seasons. But if you don't feel that he's the right fit for the pieces that you have, then you have to do what you have to do. Here's my problem. The Lakers last season went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. And they did so with a team that is better than the team that they assembled this year. Just is, right? Like they did so with better pieces to complement the stars, with a better bench to complement the stars. They did not make this team better in 2023, 2024. They thought they did, but they failed. That falls on General Manager Rob Pelinka, the guy who has been getting a pass on things ever since Magic Johnson. But there's a reason why Magic Johnson left. Because Magic Johnson probably looked up and went, wait a minute. I got Bron. I'm going to get AD. Why is it that you need to bring in this dude? Like, what does this dude bring to the table that you're not already getting with me? Why is he now going to be able to tell me, or why do I have to consult with him? Right? I think it's funny. People talk about how great Rob Pelinka was as an agent. I only know one client. That's Kobe Bryant. If you only have one client that's of note, then how good of an agent are you for real? People talk about Rich Paul and they go, well, Rich Paul's got LeBron. Okay, look at everybody else that he has. And look at what he's done for everyone else. He has a proven track record based off what he's been able to do, not only with LeBron, but with everybody else. Rob Pelinka have that? Did Rob Pelinka have that type of schedule? Did Rob Pelinka have a situation where he was bona fide, where he was certified? I think not. How is Rob Pelinka skirting all responsibility for what happened to the Lakers this year? I think about Darvin Ham, and he has some responsibility, right? I'm watching the Nuggets play, and now I'm watching the Nuggets play the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Minnesota Timberwolves don't mind having two bigs out there, neither one of them being elite level scorers or even decent level scorers. They're just okay scorers, but they're able to keep the bigs from the Nuggets off the boards. And I'm wondering why I never really saw a whole lot of bigs with Anthony Davis, right? Like, what was Rui Hachimura giving us defensively that one of the bigs that were coming off the bench couldn't have done? Maybe we could have gotten better rebounding off of the bench or from one of those other big guys. That way you don't have, this dude out here with 20 rebounds and 18 rebounds in the game. Like, I think there is responsibility for Darvin Ham, but also, like, when are we going to just say, okay, Rob Pelinka, you had your chance. Bye. Thank you. Good night. Like, when is it going to be time to say goodbye to Rob Pelinka? Like, we can't just keep giving him passes because he was Kobe's boy. Right? If Kobe wasn't getting the things that he needed to get out of a contract, you think he wouldn't have said goodbye to Rob Pelinka? Of course he would have. I look at what's going on in the NBA, and now I double down on the fact that I believe the Lakers are one of the best teams, if not the second best team in the West. Because I'm watching what Minnesota did to Denver in the first game. And in my mind, I'm going, okay, that doesn't work versus the Lakers. Because the game doesn't run through Anthony Davis the way that it runs through in Denver, right? Like, the way they get things done in LA is not the way they get things done in Denver. And in Minnesota, they don't have anybody that's checking up LeBron. What they do have in Minnesota is an unstoppable force named Anthony Edwards. And if y'all don't think that dude is coming, like, I get it. You've got to make these comparisons because these comparisons would drive narratives and talk radio and talking media. You got to make the comparisons. People saying, oh, well, he's Jordan, right? It started with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett that caught them in 85 or 87 Jordan or 84 Jordan. I forget which one it was. But Kevin Garnett kind of started it. Oh, he looks like a young Jordan, just like aggressive. It's not a bad comparison. He didn't call him Michael Jordan. The embodiment of Jordan, the epitome of what Jordan became as a player. He didn't say that Anthony Edwards was that. He said that Anthony Edwards reminded him of that young Jordan, that aggressive Jordan, that to the rim, that dunk on you at any point in time, that bravado, that swagger that he had. All of that can be equated to what Anthony Edwards is doing. Right? He has single-handedly exposed players who people keep wanting to put in the upper echelon. I don't want to hear all that talk about Phoenix and their big three. I don't want to hear nothing about Bradley Beal. I don't want to hear about Devin Booker and how much points he scores if he can't play any defense. Right? And so I think that the interesting part is that Anthony, like if the Lakers would have beat the Nuggets and the Lakers be playing Minnesota, there's nobody matching up with Anthony Edwards because the guards don't play defense. But neither do they. The defensive prowess from the Minnesota guards is not where it's at. And I think that becomes easier for, the others on the Lakers to deal with. And yes, they're going to be able to combat what Anthony Davis does. But nobody's checking LeBron. I think that's another interesting series. But we don't get there, right? Because there wasn't enough on the bench. Blame Rob Pelinka. There were not enough adjustments made. Blame Darvin Ham. Right? LeBron turned the ball over too much in the first game. Blame him for that loss. 9 turnovers. If you turn the ball over half as many times, they win the game. Right? So put some blame on LeBron for it. Anthony Davis, that one game where all of a sudden he got touched and then he was holding his shoulder or arm or whatever and something probably happened. But you got to fight through this because this is the playoffs and we absolutely positively need you to have monster games, and you didn't. You had a lot of rebounds. You scored like 14 points, whatever it was. Blame him. D'Angelo Russell disappearing in game, what was it, game 2, game 3, whatever it was, I forget. Blame him. Austin Reeves in game 2 not looking like he wanted to shoot. Hot potato in the ball. As soon as he touched it, just moving it around. Blame him. We're so quick to blame the coach, and I talk about this all the time. And I think you know that I'm more sensitive about it because I coach. We always want to blame the coach. But sometimes the truth is just the truth. Sometimes the truth is just the truth. Oh, y'all can't pass the ball well? Well, who's passing the ball? Who's catching the ball? Does my entire receiving corps look like the Lollipop Guild? Is my quarterback more adept at running than he is at passing, and that's why we don't pass the ball more? Does my offensive line struggle with straight drop back passes because their pass protection isn't as good? Is that the reason why we don't throw the ball more? Do we have phenomenal running backs, and therefore why should we be putting the ball in the air a whole lot? Does that have something to do with it? What are the factors that go into why the coach decides to do what the coach decides to do? Not just blame the coach. Right? Oh, they weren't winning early. Was there a reason why they weren't winning early? What's your role in it? What do you have to bring to the table to make things better? I was interviewing one time at a place, and they let me talk to the players. And I asked the players what was the number one reason why, the number one thing that they thought was wrong with the program, and they said play calling. The players did. I knew right then I didn't want to be the head coach of that school. Because I understood that, because I had seen them play, because I knew what was going on at the school. A lot of instances of players not taking responsibility and doing what they're supposed to do. A lot of players missing practices. A lot of players don't know which way to go on a play. Yet the first thing that they identified that was wrong had nothing to do with them. It had everything to do with somebody else. And that is before we got to the point of, dog, y'all are just not that good. Sometimes there's have or have nots, and you're the have not. The Lakers had all of these things going on. The head coach could have been better. The GM didn't put enough talent around. The players were not good enough. LeBron was, AD was, everybody else not good enough. I don't care how much you like Austin Reeves, not good enough. I don't care how much D'Angelo Russell improved this year, not good enough. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards is over there living his best life in Minnesota. Why? Because he's doing what he's been told to do. Attack, 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 attack. Everybody understands it. They fall in line. Rudy Gobert doesn't care if he scores 15 points or 5. He's going to get you 12 to 20 rebounds a game. It doesn't matter if he scores 5 or 15 points. He's getting you double digits. You can count on it, right? You can count on it. You can rely on it. Just like you can rely on a postman. That's the difference. Anthony Edwards, go cook. We're gonna be here to support you in any way necessary. And because he is so gravitational, because so many people have to pull towards him, it allows the other people to eat. It's easier for Karl Anthony Towns to get off. It's easier for Mike Conley to do his thing. Why? Because you got to pay attention to Anthony Edwards. I want to see when somebody's just going to say, okay, Anthony Edwards, go for 100 tonight. And see if he can get 100. Because I'm not letting anybody else score. I'm going to see when they're going to do that. But they won't. You know why? Because there's so many unimaginative coaches in the NBA who think, oh, well, our talent and our system, so we just get it done. The lack of imagination is hurting the WNBA in being able to expand because they won't think outside the box. The lack of imagination is hurting basketball teams from their coaching and their front office because they're always looking for the measurables, right? Or they're already looking for the finished product. That's why so many people passed on Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson came out of high school as one of the most dominant players coming out of high school. Jalen Brunson went to Villanova, and in his 4 years at Villanova was one of the most dominant players in Villanova, in college basketball. Won Player of the Year, won national championships. And then he got to the NBA draft, and they said he's too small. He's not fast enough. He doesn't shoot well enough. Instead of talking about all of the things that he could do, instead of harping on the things that he does well, all they did was tell us how much Jalen Brunson could not do. Nobody talked about the fact that his father was a hooper, that he's been bred to be a hooper his entire life, that he comes from an area that breeds toughness and resilience and understanding of how to get it done on a basketball court. Nope. They just said he was too short, said he wasn't fast enough, said he doesn't jump high enough, said he doesn't shoot threes like Steph Curry. And so teams just passed on him. And he ended up landing with Dallas. And then I watched that boy, because see, here's what you fail to understand. Eventually, all of the players that he dominated in high school, right, on the travel circuits, on the grassroots in high school, for his high school team, they were all going to end up in the NBA, right? that level that he dominated would eventually end up being that level in the NBA. That level that he dominated in college, that would eventually be the level in the NBA. So all of those same dudes he's been cooking since he was 12, 13 years old, guess what he's still doing? He's still cooking them. That's what we don't talk about enough. That's what we don't make known enough. This is not magic. He didn't all of a sudden, like his game didn't all of a sudden get better. He didn't make any quantum leaps in his game from what he was when he first got, to the Knicks to now, right? He's always been this. Go and look at highlights. You don't even got to look at full games. I've seen him since he was a kid. Go and look at highlights. He's always been this same type of player. He's always been a leader. He's always been tough. He's always been able to play through contact. He's always been able to make clutch shots. He's always been able to make the right pass. He's always been unflappable. So this isn't something brand new. The difference is now you want to give him credit for it. You know what I think about when I think about Jalen Brunson? I think about Lamar Jackson and how coming out, all of the pundits said, well, he's not big enough and his arm strength and he's more of a runner. He probably would be a higher ceiling as a wide receiver, and he can't make throws on time. He can't make rhythm throws. He can't play in the pocket. And in my mind, I kept saying, wait a minute. He just dominated college football for 2 straight years. He was one of the best passers in college, one of the best rushers in college, simultaneously. And you're telling me that those skills don't translate to the NFL? That doesn't make any sense. He dominated high school. He was one of the best passers in this area. He was one of the best rushers in this area. That clearly translated to college. And you're telling me it won't translate to the NFL? So now I have to watch you make a mistake again. That's what happened. And even when Jalen Brunson was balling out, all I heard from pundits were, Jalen Brunson's having a great season, but you can't have a guy like that as your lead guy, as your number one guy. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the NBA championship, right? I'm not saying they're going to be NBA champions, but I'm saying you can't say that Jalen Brunson can't be the man on a championship caliber team, but then go and tell me that Devin Booker can. You can't tell me that Jalen Brunson can't be the man, the number one man on the team, right? But then tell me anybody in Boston can. There are only a handful of dudes who are the man that can hold it down and get it done by themselves. And not by themselves, but get it done where they're the lead dog and everything runs through them. And you can't even tell me Embiid can do it. Why? Because we've never seen him do it. We've never seen Jason Tatum do it. We've never seen Devin Booker do it. We've never seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander do it. We're going to find out. We're going to find out if Anthony Edwards can do it. But those teams have a lot of talent around them. So even when they do it, they weren't alone. That's the thing we have to figure out, right? Like how do we better evaluate if we keep on trying to do stuff that's not working? I talk to coaches all the time about offensive line, because offensive line is one of the weakest things about high school football, right? You either have big guys that everybody thinks should be really good who are actually not good, because they're not athletic, they're not able to move fast enough, or you don't have size. And now you're like, what am I supposed to do? When in reality, what you should be doing is just trying to find the best 5 dudes who can operate on your offensive line, regardless of size. The 5 dudes who never step the wrong way on the block. The 5 dudes who always understands their assignment in the scheme. The 5 dudes who don't get tired when you have 14 and 15, 16 play drives. The 5 guys who, when they get beat, they get up and they go right back to work. And if teams focus more in on finding those 5 guys instead of finding the 5 biggest dudes, instead of trying to find the prototypes in an area where you don't get to pick who you work with, they would have more success. But nope. A coach will tell you, oh, well, that kid's a fat kid, so he's an offensive lineman. That kid's really big, so he's an offensive lineman. Yeah, coach, but what if he can't block? What if he can't remember his left from his right? What if he doesn't understand how to go on 3 instead of going on 1? Now what? I've been guilty of it. And we got to find a way to use this kid. This kid's so big. Nope. I've been guilty of it, but I won't be guilty of it because I know I'm going to find the guys like Jalen Brunson who just get it done. And then we'll figure it out from there. Stay tuned. We'll be back with a little bit more Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men. This is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Network, and the 102.9 The Game app. Canelo Alvarez fought this past weekend, and I think it's rather interesting to watch how boxing attaches itself to one person and refuses to champion and or create a dynamic where more than one person in boxing is him. It's almost like they're afraid to have multiple hymns, which is hilarious because they have a million different belts, a million different weight classes, a million different belts. To me, that says, oh, I can have a million different hymns. I can have a million different dudes that I look at and deem he is the golden child. And yet, the only one that I ever see people willing to just universally admit is the golden child is Saul Canelo Alvarez. But why is it? Why is that? Why is everybody so ready and willing to stamp Canelo Alvarez as the him? I'll tell you why. It's because he fought Floyd Mayweather. And he fought Floyd Mayweather early enough to recover from the Floyd Mayweather loss, but still a little bit of the Floyd Mayweather sauce. See, and here's the thing about Alvarez that he's been able to do almost better than Floyd. Because he's lost, he has convinced the world that losing doesn't matter. And guess what? It doesn't. That's where he has been able to usurp, or not even usurp. That's where he's been able to stay atop. That's when he's been able to continue to separate himself from everybody else. It's the fact that he has fashioned a career built off taking chances, but it's calculated chances. Yeah, I'm going to move up in weight to fight a fighter, but it may not be the best fighter that I'm fighting. It might not be the most dangerous fighter that I'm fighting. And so what happens is, if he loses, he gets credit because he challenged himself. If he wins, he's a god. And so Canelo Alvarez has been going around for years, kind of taking a little of that Floyd Mayweather sauce, right? Because since he to Floyd, he went on an incredible run. He's Mexican, but he has how do I say this? He's Mexican, but he looks like a white boy, right? Red hair, and the way his faceted features, they are not features that you readily associate with Mexican. And please, if I'm wrong, tell me. I don't mind being wrong. I think being wrong is the only way to sometimes get to right. But those features don't scream Mexican. Those features don't scream Mexican, but his heart does. And we know that unlike our country, where we are so divisive based off of how people look and how people sound, from what I know of other countries, if you're Mexican, you're Mexican, right? Like, now, do they have some internal issues? Yeah. But in the United States, if you're American, you're not American. Because certain Americans only rock with certain Americans. And even outside, we don't rock for those certain Americans. If we did, we'd be a much stronger country. If we just faked like we loved everybody that came from this country because they come from this country, we would be a stronger country in the world's view. We'd probably be a more light country in the world's view. But we don't. We don't even try to act as if we're down and rock with our own people. So Canelo Alvarez has that working for him. He has that Mexican warrior spirit working for him. He has the support of an entire nation working for him. Very similar to the way Conor McGregor had that Irish fighting spirit working for him. He had the support of an entire nation working for him. And he had the dollar signs and greed of America working for him, the same way that Saul Canelo Alvarez has the dollar signs and greed of America working for him. So as a result, we just watched him like fight a fighter whom everybody said was a big fight, but didn't really seem like a big fight to me. Didn't give me any goosebumps. Didn't make me say, oh my gosh, I have to drop everything. I have to lock this in. This is appointment viewing. Not like I had to do when Terrence Crawford went up against Errol Spence. Not like I did when Ryan Garcia went up against Tank Davis. Not like I did for UFC 300. Right? Like, when it's a marquee event, I need to make sure I've cleared it out. Get out the way. This is coming. This is happening. I need to be for it. I didn't feel like that about Canelo's fight. In fact, I haven't felt like that about a Canelo fight in quite some time. The truth is that I feel as if Canelo, for years, has been ducking the truly difficult smoke. The smoke that makes it hard to breathe. The smoke that there's a chance you might die. He's been ducking that smoke for years. And so I get this Terrence Crawford fight that's coming up that I'm not that excited about. Why? Because I don't really care about this dude that he's fighting. I'm going to watch it the same way I watched the Canelo fight. But I'm not excited. You know what I would be excited about? Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. Why? Because at this point in their lives, they should be looking for the biggest fights they can create. Right? They should be looking for the biggest fights that they can create that can help cement their legacy. Now, I know what some of y'all are going to say. Ooh, but you're good with Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather didn't do that. Prove it. He fought everybody. Just because he didn't fight them when you wanted him to fight them doesn't mean that he didn't fight everybody. He fought everyone of his ilk, like of his age range. People were talking about he should have went back down. He should have went and fought these young ones. You wanted him as the old veteran to fight people who weren't in his generation? That's convenient. Not a lot of fighters have ever done that in the history of the sport. Where they all of a sudden started going back down in their mid to late 30s, fighting really promising, really talented boxers that didn't have the cachet to bring in the type of dollars that they were looking to bring in at that point in their lives. I'm saying that Canelo and Terrence Crawford are at a point in their lives where they can see the finish line. They know that there's not many fights left. They know that they only have a finite amount of time to make the most money they can possibly make and leave the most indelible legacy that they can leave. And yet, Canelo just fought somebody that I'm not really familiar with. And Bud Crawford is about to fight somebody that I am not familiar with. Now, when I say not familiar with, have I heard of them before? Yes. Do I follow their career? Do I know what they're out here doing in these streets? No, I don't. Neither one of them should be taking fights like this. Every single fight down the stretch, right? Every single fight down the stretch, the fighter that Floyd Mayweather fought had legit buzz. If I'm wrong, again, tell me I'm wrong. I might be off. Maybe not all of them. But for the most part, every one of them had buzz. Right? They had some type of cachet behind their name. They were able to bring in some of the draw. They might not have been the A side, but they were a strong B side. Again, maybe not everyone. So if it's not everyone, I'm wrong. But enough of them. Right, Andre Berto? Berto had a name. He had a buzz. Oh, well, he wasn't to the caliber. Listen, he had a buzz. All of those Hispanic fighters that he fought them on Cinco de Mayo. Why? Buzz. Made sense. Calculated. From the business standpoint. Tough from a fight standpoint. It's not his fault that he made all of these other fighters look average and normal and ordinary. Canelo Alvarez is not making elite level boxers look average and ordinary. He's making average and ordinary dudes look average and ordinary. Terrence Crawford's not average and ordinary. Terrence Crawford is not out here making average and ordinary fighters look average and ordinary. He's making elite level, high-end fighters with names and cachets look like amateurs. Look like they don't belong in a ring with him. That's the fight. Unless you're telling me the guy who's been unafraid his entire life, the guy who is quote-unquote born ready, is afraid to take that challenge. He's the bigger fighter. He's the bigger fighter. What's so difficult? Now, people are out here talking about he's supposed to fight some other dude. Oh, well, we'll probably see one other fight, and then we may see a fight versus Terrence Crawford. Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Meanwhile, right? Meanwhile, you have this dude in Inoue. I always forget if I'm saying his name right. But you got this dude Inoue who is making it his point to run down every champion he can possibly run down. He is out there fighting anybody he can possibly fight that has a name and cachet to prove, I'm the baddest him. I am the himmest of hymns. I am Himothy. He's out there fighting every single champion you can possibly fight. Because Some people do this thing differently. Tank Davis, for as much as I love Tank Davis, he's not out here fighting every champion you can possibly fight. He's out here making really shrewd, really smart business deals. He's out here making some of the sharpest, some of the smartest, some of the most calculated business deals. Even the Ryan Garcia fight was a fantastic work of how to do the business the right way. Hey, don't allow him to cheat. Because he's got to come in at this size and he can only rehydrate up to this size. Ain't going to be none of that you coming in 30 pounds heavier than when you weighed in. Ain't going to be none of that. You rehydrated up and now you're walking around as a middleweight, right? Instead of at 140 or 130, whatever it was. Nah. You have to applaud Tank for that gamesmanship, for that business acumen. But you can't put him on the same level as an Inoue. You want to know why? Because Inoue is putting the blood on the line. He's putting the blood on the line. No, I'm not just going to go and fight whomever. I want to fight the best that there is out there to fight. And I don't want to just fight them. I want to fight them. I want to beat them. And I want to humiliate them. I want them to feel like they can no longer fight. I want them to feel like they can no longer fight. I want them to feel like they got no other recourse but to quit, but to give up or go to sleep. This dude has zero regard for the well-being. You don't believe me? You don't have to. I'll show you how he finished, or I'll let you listen to how he finished his last fight. And I want you to tell me that this is somebody that cares about the well-being of the opponent that he's in front of, or is this somebody who is out here to be a stone cold killer? Oh, no, Inoue, you get the full screen, baby. This is Inoue ending his last fight versus Nery.
There's a potential finisher here, Tim. There's the right hand! He just answered the question! As Nery has crumbled and the monster has roared! He's done it again! There's a potential finisher here, Tim. There's the right hand!
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. This young man is out there destroying people with what looks like light work. It don't even look like he's really trying hard. This looks like light work. This looks like just another day at the park, except, right, the difference between what he's doing, right, the difference between what he's doing and what Canelo Alvarez is doing is that he's doing this to champions, right? He's doing this to guys who are considered to be the next, like that next dude. Guys in their prime. Louis Nery was 29 years old. Right? He was 29 years old. He was 37-1, if I'm not mistaken. 37-1, 27 KOs. Right? So when I think about a guy who is 37-1 or 37-1, and his only loss came against Brandon Figueroa, excuse me, right? For the super bantamweight title. Then he goes back in his next split decision. TKO, KO, TKO. Like, that's a guy who bounces back from his first loss ever. He bounced back from his first loss ever after 31 straight wins with 4 wins in a row, 3 by knockout. And he steps in there in the Tokyo Dome at Tokyo, Japan, and Naoya Inoue drops him. 6th round, right hand, go to sleep, lights out. If you want to know how good this dude is, it ain't really difficult to figure out, right? It ain't really hard to figure out. Here's what you do if you want to find out how good he is. Just go and look down his fights. And look at how many titles he's won. So, first off, he just fought Louis Nery, KO, 6th round, retains the WBA Super, WBC, IBF, WBO, and the Ring Magazine Super Bantamweight titles. Before that, he fought Marlon Tapales, knockout in the 10th round, retained his WBC and WBO Super, but also won the WBA, the IBF, and the vacant Ring Magazine Super Bantamweight titles. Before that, he TKO'd Stephen Fulton in the 8th round. He won the WBC and the WBO Super Bantamweight titles. Before that, he beat Paul Butler, KO in the 12th. He won the WBO Super Bantamweight title. He retained the others. Before that, Nonito Donaire. Y'all heard of Nonito Donaire if you're a boxing fan. Nonito Donaire, TKO in the 2nd. Won the WBC Bantamweight title. All of these times people were just talking about he's just a flash in the pan. He ain't fought nobody. Remember his first fight with Nonito Donaire? One that a lot of people thought Donaire was a lot closer than they gave him credit for. That was a unanimous decision, right, in the 12th. After that, KO, TKO, KO, TKO, KO. He said, you know what? I'm not going to put it in the hands of referees anymore. If you guys don't think that I'm out here murdering these cats, I won't even allow the referees to be a part of the decision-making. Put it on me. I'll take it from here. I got it. Oh, don't worry about it. I got it. I'll take care of it. I'll do what needs to be done. That's what he did. Yo, it's on me. I got this. That is somebody that I want to watch. That is money that I want to pay. That is how I want my elite level, championship caliber boxers thinking. But that's not how the greed of America works. And luckily for him, he doesn't do his business in America. All of these fights, The last 6 fights have all been in Japan. You want to know why? Because he's calling the shots now. Because he's calling the shots. But people act like he hasn't fought any other places. He has, but why would you? Right? Why would you go other places where there may be other things in play, where there may be other powers in play? I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want to have to deal with not knowing if it's just going to come down to what I'm doing in the ring. I want to know that everything is on the up and up. And you don't have to worry about if it's on the up and up from my side, because I'm not letting it get to a decision. I'm not letting judges make the decision. I'm getting these dudes out of there. Yo, Inoue is the most excited I've been about a boxer in a very long time. And that includes Bud Crawford. Because at the end of the day, right, I can't be mad at Bud for what he's had to endure. But that makes me less excited. He's had to worry about people ducking him. He's had to worry about people not wanting to fight him. He's had to worry about the elites not wanting to give him the shot. I had to listen to the people at Top Rank tell me with a straight face that he doesn't sell pay-per-views, that nobody wants to watch him. Propaganda that's just lies. I knew it was a lie. Bud knew it was a lie. So you know what Bud said? Okay, I'll play this contract out, and when it's over, guess what? I'm out of here. He got out of there and immediately made it happen. And not only did he make it happen, he got against Spence and he shut the show down. He closed the show the way it's supposed to be closed. Dominance, no doubt about it. I'm the best. Call your mama. It's a wrap. The entire Errol Spence camp has dissolved since Errol Spence lost. And the crazy thing about it is Bud Crawford ain't got no beef with none of these dudes. But I gotta ding him, right? I can't just let it be okay. I can't say I'm as excited. I was more excited for him because he wasn't fighting anybody because nobody wanted to fight him. These dudes all really believe they're better than Inoue, and he keeps lining them up, and he keeps taking them out. And there is something that is really attractive about that executioner style of how you go about your business. Hey, I'm lining you up, and I'm getting you out of there. Nobody can tell me anything differently. I know how I like my sports. I know how I like my champions. I like them bring on all comers. I don't have to hear a word he says. I don't need no interpreter. You ain't got to sell no fight with Inoue. Just say he's fighting. That's it. And the moment he fights in the States, I'm there. Whenever he comes, unless it's on a time where I've got a football game, I am there. I'm going to see this dude in person. I'm going to watch this dude go and knock somebody out or die trying, because it's not like he's out there with the greatest defense in the history of man. He's there to be hit. He's just doing more hitting than you're doing. And that's what's excited about watching him fight. He's kill or be killed, except he just keeps killing. When we come back, I'll pay it off. I'll get y'all those individual over-unders for tonight in these basketball games. You're listening to Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together. I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woo-hoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. Riptide Media Networks, I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Before we get out of here today, still had a few things I wanted to get to. We were talking boxing in the last segment, and I just wanted to finish off with this because I am still a little bit bummed that it's going to happen. But Jake Paul still getting ready to fight Mike Tyson, and I just like Jake Paul makes all of these, viral moments because he just has a lot of people that follow him, and shout out to him. But man, do I hope Mike Tyson knocks this dude out. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna be sad if Mike Tyson loses. It's not gonna alter my world at all. I won't think any more of Jake Paul. I won't think any less of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's place in my thoughts about boxing are already etched. They're already cemented. If we're being honest, I really don't even count anything post-jail. I don't count anything post-jail. To me, what Mike Tyson was able to do is never going to change. So what happens to him in this fight and what happens to Jake Paul in this fight, it won't make me sad if it's Jake Paul that comes out on top. It would just really make me happy to see Mike Tyson knock that dude out. I don't want him to just beat him because he's been beat. I really want him to get knocked out. And then I want to see him get back up and see if he still boxes. That is where the respect will be earned for me. He gets knocked out. If he just gets put to sleep, Which, by the way, if I was Jake Paul, I would 100%, because, you know, people are out here talking about his fights are fixed. Let's say they are fixed. Why are all of them fixed for him to win? If I was Jake Paul, this would 100% be the fight that I like, that I lay down on. That I say, okay, Tyson, this is you. You're going to win this one. That I let him cold cock and put me down. Like, that's it. Because then the rematch would be like you think this fight's not getting as much of the glare, the glitz that it should, that you would think it would be. Let Mike Tyson mess around and knock this dude out, and watch how many people want to see the rematch. If only for them to watch carnage again. Like, if I'm Jake Paul, that's what I'm thinking. In my brain, that's how I'm getting down. Like, what else? What would I have to lose? NBA is back tonight, right? NBA is back tonight, and I'm gonna take you guys through how if you watch the Bleacher Brothers, and you should watch the Bleacher Brothers after me, because they've been on an absolute heater, giving out winners all over the place, right? Giving out winners all over the place when it comes to picking these games. I have been eating quite lovely, if we'll say, off of these prize picks. But I will tell you, or not even just prize picks, but just of any of the, you know, the 1 day, 1 game fantasy type stuff where you pick the over under. So not prize picks, not FanDuel, not, because I don't get, you know, I'm not being sponsored by any of them, but I've been eating pretty well. And one of the ways is because I think when people set lines, right, for over unders, they either go way over or just a little bit under. Like, for instance, Jalen Brunson tonight. Jalen Brunson, his over under on points tonight is 35.5 points. Now, some people are out there going, yo, that's a lot of points. And it is a lot of points, right? It's a lot of points. Definitely a lot of points. And it's a lot of points for a reason, because Jalen Brunson puts up a lot of points. But what does Jalen Brunson put up versus the Knicks, right? Like, how does he fare versus the Knicks? So it's really easy. A lot of times you can, not the Knicks versus the Pacers. So in Jalen Brunson's 3 games this season, he is averaging 35.7 points a game. Ladies and gentlemen, why do you think they have the over-under at 35.5? They have it at 35.5 because he is averaging 35.5 versus the team. Now, over his last 4 games versus Philadelphia, he has 41, 40, 47, and 39. 41, 40, 47, and 39. How is he getting 41 points and still dishing out 12 assists? Because he is the engine that makes it go for that team. That team cannot go without him. That team will not be able to make it happen if Jalen Brunson is not going, right? So I'm looking at Jalen Brunson And I'm saying points, rebounds, and assists are at 48.5. That's a lot. But, right? But how many times has he gone over 48.5? Literally in every game over his last 4 games. Every game. Every single one. If you go back and look at his games versus Indiana or Indianapolis, right? 39, 4-3 versus the Pacers in one game, 41-5 versus the Pacers in another game, 28-6-1 versus the Pacers in another game. So you're telling me that 2 out of the 3 times that Jalen Brunson has played Indiana, he's gone over 35.5 points. Seems like something I might want to mess with. Sounds like something I might want to be in bed with. Maybe I don't want to be in bed with it at 35.5, right? Maybe I just want to be at it at the low number. So if you were playing one of these things that gives you the option of the high or the low or the really high, then what are you choosing? Right? What are you choosing? Are you taking the 35.5 points, or are you taking the 32.5? Or are you of the mindset that if he goes over 30, he's going for darn near 40? I am of the mindset that he's going over 30. So I might as well just take him for the full Monty. I might as well just take him to go over 35.5 because, again, they don't get it done without him. And the fact that they're down other players who put the ball in the cup means that he is relied upon to put the ball in the cup. Now, when I look at the Pacers, and I look at the type of defense the Pacers play, I need to go no further than to look at their previous games, right? If I'm looking at whether or not they're going to give up this types of points, I got to look at what they're giving up on the other end. Dame Lillard, in their final game to win it, he played, but he's banged up, right? 28 points. But he don't go and attack the same way that Brunson does. He's older than Brunson. That matters. I look at their loss to the Bucks, right? That 115-92 loss to the Bucks. They gave up 18 points. 18 points to Beasley. They let Patrick Beverley score 13 points. I can't remember the last time Patrick Beverley had double digits in a game. What does that tell me? Not stopping Brunson. I need more ammunition. They're 126-113 because they're gonna score. Right? They're gonna score. Again, they gave up 20 points. They gave up 20 points to Beasley. 20 points to Beasley. 9 points to Beverly. I'm sorry. Jalen Brunson's just better. He's just better. That's what it is. So do I feel decent to really good about Jalen Brunson and his ability to get 35.5 points? You gosh darn right I do. Where are they playing at? The Garden. Who's going to be hype? Knicks fans. Who's going to be guarding him? Nobody. How many times are they going to foul him? A lot. Guess what he's going to do? Go to the free throw line. I predict him to have double-digit points from the free throw line tonight. And if he has double-digit points from the free throw line tonight, he's going for 40 or darn near 40. But you know, with these things, you got to be able to put multiples in. So then I start to think, who else do I want to look at tonight? Right? It's the Knicks. It's Indiana. It's the Pacers. But then there's like, you know, the Nuggets, and there's Minnesota. And I'm sitting back and going, okay, well, who do you rock with from the Nuggets in Minnesota? I'm going to tell y'all how I looked at it last time. I went and did the numbers on what people were putting up, and now they're more this week. This game, right? That Denver Minnesota game last time out. Where's my handy dandy? Because Denver beat Minnesota 106 to 99. And in that game, Anthony Edwards had 43 points. In that game, Nikola Jokic had 32 points and didn't play his best game. 11 for 25, a very inefficient 32 points. You know what both of those were? Over their individual totals. Like, both of those were over the individual totals. So I'm looking at Jokic at 29.5 and going, yep. I'm looking at Anthony Edwards at 29.5 and going, yep. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. Michael Porter Jr. over 18.5 points. That excites me. I loved him. Yes, I loved him 2 days ago on 17.5 points. He got 20. Rudy Gobert at 11.5 rebounds. It excites me. You want to know why? Because he don't care about nothing else but making sure he get these rebounds. His job is to keep Jokic from getting those rebounds. That's what he's there for. I like it. So it's a lot of meat on the bone out there, ladies and gentlemen. I gave you a few. I'm gonna revisit so that you know what I'm on. I'm on Brunson over 35.5. I'm on Jokic over 29.5. I'm on Anthony Edwards over 29.5. I'm on Michael Porter Jr. over 18.5 points. I'm on Rudy Gobert. I'm on Rudy Gobert over 11.5. Sorry, not points. Where's his rebounds at? I said 11.5 for rebounds, didn't I? I might have been off. Hold on. Rudy Gobert over 9 defensive rebounds. Rudy Gobert over 9 defensive rebounds. See, look, I got to make sure I got this right before I tell you something that ain't on point. Let me get to the rebounds and go through them the way I should go through and make sure I got everything proper. Again, I'm doing this in real time for you guys. Like, this isn't me just sitting down doing this off air and saying something crazy. Right? So I'm looking for Gobert. And it's got Rudy Gobert over 9 defensive rebounds. It don't even have his full rebounds in there. It's just saying that he's going to get 9 defensive rebounds. It actually also has him with 13.5 points and assists or 13.5 rebounds and assists, which I think are pretty good. Like that's a good little thing to do, right? Because I feel like he's going to get you at least, anywhere between 4 and 10 points. And he's going to get you at least 10 rebounds. Right? So it's like, which one do you choose? I know which one you don't choose. You don't choose points and assists. Right? And then rebounds and assists, he could get you 13.5 all by himself. Assist is the one that gets a little bit tricky because, he's a center, right? He averages 12.7 points a game versus Denver. He averages 13 rebounds, but he only averages 2 assists. So he actually averages over the 13.5 rebounds and assists, and he averages over the 13.5 points and assists. The problem is he doesn't care about points. He really cares about assists, right? I mean, he really cares about rebounds. Doesn't care about points. He really cares about rebounds. And in this matchup, he's got no other choice but to be out there because it really matters about him, right? I wonder what his points, rebounds, and assists are. Let's look at that. It says Rudy Gobert over 25.5 for points, rebounds, and assists. If we'd have been playing that on Saturday, he would have lost, but not by much. I really do like this 9 defensive rebounds, though. But I'm gonna hold off on that one because I gotta check it more. So I'm just gonna go with the 4 pick I got for you right now, and that's Brunson over points, Jokic over points, Anthony Edwards over points, and Michael Porter Jr. over points. I actually really like Mike Conley over assists, but I think once it gets over to like 11, it gets a little bit wonky, right? So that's the power pick that I'm putting out there. I hope all of you have nothing but success out there in the betting world. Make sure that you bet responsibly. Make sure you take care of home before you try to take care of that extra stuff. And make sure that you tune in, because tomorrow I'm going to be able to tell you whether I was right or whether I was wrong. And I want you to be like, hey, you were wrong, or hey, you were right. So we'll both watch together. We'll both be excited together to watch all of those things. That's all the time we had today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on Talk Spicy, Riptide Media Networks. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. If you're joining me anywhere, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.